Ladies and gentlemen, I've been thinking a little bit lately about, our hobby and the future of our hobby. And I remember when I was about 5 years old, I got to go through Grandma's cigar box. And I can remember the one really old coin she had. And it was a dark, worn 1832 cap bust $50. And that was my introduction to coins of that era. Now, the next generation coming up doesn't have Grandma and Grandpa with a cigar box or a shoe box or a jewelry box full of treasures to hunt through and play with. Think back, what was, that your introduction to half cents or to large cents or to bust $50 or whatever. It was usually probably a low-grade specimen that somebody put in your hand and let you play with and look at, and it captured your imagination. Well, I've been talking to the people at the ANA, and they have a wonderful program for YNs, and they sponsor a YN auction each year at the National Convention. And all year long, and all during their YN careers, these children do events and different things to earn YN dollars. And then at the National Convention, they have an auction, and they can use their YN dollars to bid on real coins that people have donated in the auctions. And I happen to know the auctioneer, and he has a lot of fun doing it also. But I've told the ANA that I will come to you and I will ask each of you to donate a low-grade coin that is something that is a favorite of yours, a half cent, a large cent, a bust half, whatever. I'll make sure it gets to the right hands at the ANA. They will tell people where they came from. They came from EAC and JRCS. We can put information about our club with the coins that we donate. So not only does a child get an opportunity to own a coin of that era, they also get an introduction where to learn more about it, so that they're not victims of this type of scam, so that we can foster the next generation as stand-in grandparents. So tomorrow, if any of you would like to participate, you can come up to my table. You can give me a coin that you would like to donate to the ANA. I'll make sure it gets there. They will be represented as coins donated by EAC and JRCS. We will get exposure to the young numismatists, to their parents, and it's a way they can learn. There's someplace else in the hobby they can go for the rest of the story. So I hope that each of you will consent to participate, and we'll make sure the coins get in the right hands and eventually to the kids. And hopefully in 5 or 10 years, we're going to see a lot of teenagers, 20-somethings and 30-somethings amongst us as the next generation to carry on the mantle. So please come up and see me. If you have any other suggestions also, I'll be happy to take that under consideration and try to implement it. Thank you very much.
And we also give Brad a very expensive something for getting up here and speaking. So Brad, EAC wishes to express sincere gratitude to you for graciously speaking on a request concerning the ANA Young
But that's all, folks.
the Young
Thank you.
Numismatist Program. Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, Chuck.
Appreciate it. All right, let's. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Holmes.
Thank you. Chuck, what's the title of my talk?
Anything you want. An evening with Dan Holmes.
I started collecting coins like I imagine nearly everybody in the room did. I'm 70 now. I was 10 in 1948. A kid across the street showed me his Lincoln penny collection, and he had a Whitman folder. I went to my mom. She got me a folder. I had a paper route. That put me in the money, and I began to punch coins in the holes. And one thing led to another. Fast forward to 74, I had sort of dropped out of coin collecting. You know, I bought mint sets and proof sets when they made them during the 60s, but I married Joan. Where's Joan? Joan. There's Joan. We got married in 1962. Kids showed up in 66 and 68, and I didn't have any money for coins. And by 74, I was sort of looking around for something to do. We could make the mortgage payments. Joan wasn't working yet, so there wasn't a lot of free money, but there was a little bit. And I traveled a lot for business, which meant I could, if I was clever, I could match up a business trip with a coin event. And I saw an ad in Coin World where, you know, join EAC. So I sent in, where's Dennis? I have no idea what the dues were in those days. $5? 15 bucks. Oh my God. Okay. Sent in 15 bucks. Got Pennywise. Read several issues. Had no idea in the world what the hell they were trying to say. It was a new language. Joan saw me frustrated at one point, wanted to know what was going on, and I said, I don't know. What I do know is I don't know. And there's some guy named Sheldon. Well, believe it or not, she said, Sheldon? William Sheldon? Yeah. So I know who he is. So she goes out and buys me Penny Whimsy. Aha. Now we got started. In 74, EAC was held at, was it the Americana Hotel in New York, Dennis? Yep. Yeah, okay. I think it was March 2nd or thereabouts. And Willard Blaisdell sold me my first large cent. It was 1798, a 167, VG7, and 23 bucks. Now, I was getting curious before we came down here. Joan looked up on the internet for me the consumer price index in March of 74. It was 137, by the way, on an index base of 67 equals 100. And today's index is 630 something or other. So the multiplier is, in round numbers, 4.5. It's actually about 4.4. So that's a $100 coin today, actually 101 or 102, something like that. And I remember being very nervous because how was I going to explain to Joan what I'd done? Going forward, I got lots of support from my family. And I'll jump quite a bit forward. I did reach a point after 20 years or so where I could afford to buy better coins. And in order to encourage me, Joan went to Phil Rawls one day and bought me a very nice XF40 S81, a beautiful 96. So all of a sudden I got to see what a high-grade coin looks like. But in the early days, to me, by the way, it's always been a hobby. I've never seen this as an investment. I mean, I realize that I've spent a lot of money and bought six-figure coins, but it's not an investment. It just isn't. You can make it, at least not to me. It's a hobby. And I remember reading in Sheldon's book something to the effect that if you can't afford to buy the coin and walk out of the shop and put it in your pocket and have a hole in your pocket and it falls down the sewer and is gone, then you better not buy the coin in the first place. Obviously he wasn't encouraging you to lose money, but at the same time he was trying to keep perspective on it and make sure that you weren't mortgaging the house and goodness knows what else just to pursue the hobby. And my early coins were primarily VGs, and I would go to a dealer like Fritz Weber or Clinton Hollins, and they'd give me a coin and tell me what they thought it was. And then I routinely took it to Dennis and asked for his opinion. And then John Wright, and sometimes Gordy Rubel, sometimes Herb Silberman. And I'd come back with a collection of grades. Sometimes a few would be the same, and sometimes they'd be different. Then I would decide whether I wanted to buy it or not. But it was very interesting and really made you feel good that the dealers said, that's fine. It's okay to do that. Go ahead and show it around. You know, if you like it, buy it, and if you don't, bring it back, that's okay. So that really encouraged me and got me going. Obviously, and in those days, that's all I could afford. Luckily, and I guess obviously both, our business prospered and my coin budget expanded. And you know, I began to buy either rarer coins or higher grade ones. And it soon dawned on me, well, I'll take out the word soon, it eventually dawned on me that, wait a minute, you got to have a roadmap here. You need to know where you want to go. Are you collecting VGs, or you're collecting fines, or VFs, or XFs, or you know, or what is it you want to collect? And I had a great discussion. This particularly pertains to my early dates with Dennis some time back, and decided to try to shoot for XF coins. And Dennis wisely counseled me that, well, yeah, that's all well and fine, but look, sometimes they don't come that nice. So what are you going to do in that case? You know, what's your plan B when you can't get an XF coin? And the answer was, well, okay, if you can't find one in XF, how about trying for one in the top 10? You know, the expanded condition census. Doesn't need to be a CC 1 or 2 or anything like that. You know, a 6 or an 8 or a 10 would work. And if you look through the catalog that we've got here now, you can see that in some cases we met the objective of XF or better. In other cases, we met the objective of top 10. And in still other cases, we're nowhere close. And that's just the way it is. I always loved completeness, so I was a sucker for NCs. And again, if you look through the catalog, you'll notice that. And yeah, I tried to get them all, and of course I couldn't, because Uda Württemberg at the ANS owns the 93 NC5. So we were trying to figure out, all right, what are we going to do about that? You know, I knew they weren't going to sell it, so there was no point in having that discussion. So I asked her if she would lend it to us. And I was astounded. I thought she probably was going to, you know, throw me out of the building, but she didn't. She said, okay. So that's how we got that coin, and she sent it to us last January, and we'll have it into September. So if anybody lives in the New York area, okay, it's easy to go see it. If you live somewhere else, it's down on the floor. It's in the catalog, not for sale. That would cause a row. But it's there, and you can see it. And to make matters better or worse, depending on how you want to look at it, Chris and Bob and Glenn had a token made concerning the sale, and the obverse is the NC5. And by that obverse is also used on some others. And then the reverse got monkeyed with. It doesn't say copy anywhere, but instead of 1 cent, it says Dan Holmes sale. So, and instead of a fraction, they put the 9-6 and then a bar and then 2009 underneath it. So go figure out that fraction. Joan has a question, just a minute.
When you met Sheldon.
Oh, Joan said to comment about when I met Sheldon. Yeah, that was kind of fun. I had a business trip to Boston. Of course, I had his book that Joan bought me. So I phoned him, looked him up in the phone book, and he was there. Called him, asked if I could see him. He said, sure. I went on over, opens the door, invites me in, and he said, what do you want? And I said, I want you to, would you please autograph your book for me? And he said, well, why do you want me to do that? And I, I really didn't know what to say. And I said, well, I read it and it's been fun. And I've started collecting a few pennies and it's been fun. He said, oh, all right, that's good. Come on in. And we sat down and we talked for a little bit. And he says, just a minute, I'll be back. And he goes away and he comes back and he brings the Sheldon color set. And he opens it up and the coins are all in there in little boxes but without lids. And so he's kind of poking around looking at one or another and he pulls out the S14 and it's very low grade. 2 maybe? Is that what you called it?
1 or 2.
Well, okay, 1 or 2. And I looked at it, and sometimes you're better off being lucky than smart. And that was one of the varieties out of that you can recognize at arm's length. And I remembered it from the book, and I go, oh, the bisected die variety. And Sheldon lights up and says, yes, that's absolutely right. And then he starts giving me grading quizzes. Of course, I didn't have a clue. And other attribution stuff. And of course, I didn't have a clue either. But at least we gotten off on the right foot. And it turned out I had another trip back there in like 2 or 3 weeks. So I told him that, and he said, well, all right, come on back and visit again, and we did. And at that time, we spent another several hours together, and he asked more of the same stuff, but some wide-ranging conversation as well. But some of it about some of his medical work and so on. And then he asked me if I would buy the color set. Well, I didn't know what to say. I'd heard about it. I can't remember the price. It was $3,000 maybe, or $2,500. 3? Okay. And in 1975-ish, or whenever that was, 76 maybe, yeah, that was a ton of money. But I also knew there was only one. So I told him, well, would it be all right if I think about it for a little bit? And he said, oh, certainly. So we did that, and it turned out I had another trip back there 3 or 4 weeks after that. So, and I bought it. So just, you talk about being lucky. If I hadn't gone and asked him for the autograph, why? And I also suspect if I hadn't recognized that one coin as the S14, that I wouldn't have made the positive impression that I evidently did. So that was just good fortune. Other items of good fortune, NASCAR sells his early dates. Striner buys them. Striner's forte, as I understand it, was gold and so forth. And high-end coins. Well, the strawberries don't qualify as high-end coins. They might be rare, but they ain't high-end. So Striner eventually passes them on to Perino. And frankly, Perino, as I understand it, also was more into high-end coins. And his forte wasn't that sort of stuff either. And I get a phone call one day from, is Tony here? Okay. The phone rings, I'm sitting at my desk. And this voice on the other end says, Dan, this is Tony. Hi, Tony, how you doing? I'm okay. What's up? Perino's got those strawberries. What do you think of them? Well, they're in Coin World. I saw the ads. They're listed at 125 each. Yeah. Well, I think Jay understands. He's got the right number, but he doesn't understand. It's for the pair, not each. Yeah, Dan, I agree with you. Do you want them? If I can get them. I said, sure. Tony went off and bought them, not exactly at that price, but pretty darn close. And a week later, they show up. So again, you know, just good luck. If those coins had gone into the hands of a collector, either directly from NASCAR or directly from Striner or from Perino, you know, I'd have never seen them. And then they did go into the hands of a collector when Tony sold them to me. And of course, you know, now they've been tied up for a while. But you just don't know. Stuff comes along and you just get lucky occasionally. And obviously, as I indicated earlier, and not quite sure how to express this without conveying the wrong sense or feeling, but you know, obviously our business expanded and grew and did well, or you know, it wouldn't have mattered if the things were 125,000 each or 125 bucks each or whatever it was. You still couldn't have bought them. But the business did do okay and has been, so that's fortunate. As you mostly, I presume you know, I have ALS, and so I'm selling my coins. Now, I had intended to sell probably in 11, maybe 12. So all this has done is move up the date by a few years, not a radical difference. You know, I didn't want to get to be 80 and still own them. And my wife and kids had long ago read the Riot Act to me and said, Dad, we don't collect coins. And, you know, we don't want you to go to the great coin shop in the sky and leave us with all your stuff. We don't know what to do with it or how to take care of it or, you know, how to handle it or how to move it on. So, Dad, that's your job. So from that standpoint, that all's been fine. I think, let's change directions for a minute. In Pennywise, over the last several issues or so, there's been A and B and C collectors, or at least writing about it. I prefer to see things differently. When I first started back in the 70s, there were words such as a beginning collector, an intermediate collector, or an advanced collector. And the thing I liked about those words was you could be an advanced collector and be collecting VG coins or AG coins. Or you could be a beginning collector and collecting those. You know, or you could be a beginner and collecting mint state, we'll say in late dates. Or you could be an advanced and collecting mint state, late dates. And it didn't imply, the ABC to me connotes school grades, where somehow the A is better and the B is in between and the C is not so good. And I don't agree with that. I think that, some of my favorite coins, well, you can ask Bob and Chris. I have a few coins that I own that are not in the sale. They're not the highest grade ones I own, but they're my favorites. And I'm going to keep them. And, those you'll have to get for my kids. Because, I plan to keep them. That VG7 that Willard Blaisdell sold me, I didn't put it in the sale. And I know that, as Bob and Chris said, gee, you can put that coin in the sale and it'll go for a lot more than it's worth because it's got all the story with it. Talking about coins and story, I had an opportunity to look at the Staples strawberry leaf set when Chris Karstead at A&R was getting ready to sell it. And it had been holdered by NGC, and so I went out to Las Vegas to look at it, and I got her to take it out of the holder. Yeah, she did. JK was there. Let's see. Boca was there. Rasmussen was there. Was Jeff there? Yeah, I think so. So anyway, Chris takes it out of the holder, and we're looking at it. We spent 3 or 4 hours screwing around with it, and I'd taken my 2 strawberries out to compare them. And she comes back at one point. She was like a mother hen. About every 20 minutes or so, or 30 minutes, she came back to see how her penny was doing. And she, do you guys still have it? Have you dropped it? Let me look at it. Are the edges turned pink? Does it have a new ding? No, Chris, everything's fine. And finally she looks at me and says, what's it going to sell for? And was I going to bid on it? And I told her, I said, well, you asked 2 questions. What will it sell for? I said, I don't know. A couple $100,000, I would think, and maybe a lot more. And what I bid on it, I said, well, I already have one, so I don't need another. It would be an upgrade. Would I pay to upgrade? Yes, but not much. So, and then the conversation went on a bit more. And she said, well, and we got back onto talking what it would sell for. Would it sell for 200 or 250 or 300? What did it go for? 4 something, didn't it? Yeah. Yeah. And she looks at me and she said, Dan, it's just a penny. All the rest is the story. And I said, yeah, Chris, you're absolutely right, aren't you? Isn't that great? It's just a penny. All the rest is the story. Well, anyway, back to the ABC and advanced, intermediate, beginner. I much prefer the advanced, intermediate, beginner because you can have VG coins, and frankly, it's a heck of a lot harder to put together a set of VG coins than it is a set of XF coins. For openers, the VGs are hard to attribute, and the XFs are easy to attribute because they're all there. Otherwise they wouldn't be XF to begin with. And in '78, the EAC in Los Angeles, there was a dealer there from Escondido named Sid Emerson. And he had some decent large cents in his table. And after the convention, we went to, Joan's from San Diego. She's a California girl. Grew up on a small ranch outside of San Diego. So we go down, and Emerson wasn't that far away, and we go to see him. He's got a vault in his coin shop. I don't know whether he had it put in or it was an old bank building at one time. 15,000 large cents in that vault. And I know they were there because I saw them, and I counted the double row boxes because I didn't believe it. Now, I didn't open every double row box, so I guess if somebody here is an auditor, Chuck's an auditor, that, maybe they would fault but they were there, you could see them. And he had them all the double row boxes were labeled by date. Now, granted, most of them were late dates. In round numbers, 12,000 of the 15,000 were late dates, and 3,000 were earlies, and he wanted to know if I could attribute them. So I said, well, sure. So I went back the next day. Well, I told him sure. John Wright's articles on attributing middle dates had just come, and so I had like he had published like 3 or 4 or 5 years. So I had 16s and 17s and 18 write articles. So Sid gives me the batch of the 16s, and I start working on them. Well, it's a long, slow process if you're an amateur. And it turns out, we're BSing with each other, and he's getting me a cup of coffee to keep me going. And we learned he's from Akron, and he finds out I'm from Cleveland. And finally, he shakes his head, and he said, "This is going to take a long time." He said, "I'll tell you what, why don't you take these home with you, and you can attribute them at your leisure, and then just send them back to me. And there's if any of them are ones that you want to keep, my cost code's on the back. You know, that's all those letters. Just let me know, and you know, I'll sell them to you at my cost, or maybe a small markup or something." I said, "Well, there might be some good ones. I don't know." And he said, "Well, that doesn't matter." He said, "I can't attribute them. I've got a family to feed, and this is a general coin shop." So he said, "You attribute them." And my middle date collection went from, oh golly, 15, 20 examples to needing like 6 pieces. Yeah. I mean, they weren't the world's highest grade, but boy, oh boy, it was unbelievable. So it's been a lot of fun, at least for me. I've got a lot of coins in my collection that Joan gave to me for Christmas or my birthday. Some from my kids, and the chance to see all the people, to meet all the people, to come to places like this, drink scotch, I mean, you name it. Yeah, show coins. Yeah, it's like second grade, show and tell. Chuck?
You mind a question?
No, please. In fact, it's time for questions.
Well, what was it like when you acquired all the 1794 NCs? Can you tell us something about that?
I had, my first NC was in the middle 70s, surprisingly. John Wright talked me into buying a 1795 NC1. And then I didn't get any more for a while. And then they came along slowly, occasionally. And after, by the early to middle 90s, I had maybe, close to 30 NCs, which was a fair number. Jim Long used to be a good source for NCs. They were low grade, but he knew his coins. They were right. Let's see, Jack Robinson sold me 1794 NC1. Yeah, that's the one that goes in the 1830s. Yeah, after 30, pardon me, I misspoke. Yeah, it's 94, S35 or 36 it comes after, something like that. Okay. And well, as I indicated, I had occasion to buy, a few more. Well, Robbie Brown, in his sale, had a bunch of NCs, and I don't remember the total, but there were 22, I think, that Robbie had that I did not have. So I wondered if I could buy them, and I sat down with Tony out at the Robbie 2 sale in 1996, and we went through the list, and we made 3 columns: good deal, about right, and pretty high, and filled in money numbers. And let me think. The about right total came to like 241,000 or 242,000. So I told Tony, I said, well, go ahead and buy, go see if you can get them. Well, when the day was over, Tony came back with 22 for 22. So he batted 1,000, and the money came in. We had a variance of like $1,000. It was unbelievable. Now, if you looked at the individual items, that was all over the yard. Where's Chris? Is Chris still here? We bought a 1798. Which was the one? It's the NC2. Okay, and it was worth what? $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000? Yeah, we paid. Yeah, right. What did we pay? 20 grand, 15? I don't know. But then we got others at a steep discount. So.
Well, I thought you were going to tell the Robbie Brown story when you went down to Scott with Robbie Brown.
That what?
I thought you were going to tell the story when we went to have a drink with Robbie Brown after the sale, and I said, "What idiot bought that?"
Oh, yeah. Well, that is true. And I raised my hand and told Chris it was me. But that's a detail. But but it was interesting. One of the things, well, Jack Robinson said it too. After his sale, he said, Dan, if you're going to go to an auction or have an auction, you can't go nuts over the individual prices. The individual items are going to be all over the yard. He said, there's no way to control it. But he said, you'll get a feel for the auction, and you can tell how you're going to come in total and be pretty close. And I mean, you talk about a $1,000 variance on a $242,000 deal. If he'd come in at 242, I would have said it was fixed. So, how about more questions? Yeah, hi.
You left out one really important NC.
Uh-oh.
That came out of Las Vegas, out of West Rasmussen's question. 99. NC.
Oh, the 99 NC1.
What do you think about that one?
I think it's a gorgeous coin. It was pricey, but I'm very comfortable with it. I just like the coin. It's, I think it's carried in the census as a 12, and if it is, that's fine with me. But it's the best 12 there is of all large cents. My own view is it's a 15, but it really doesn't make any difference because there aren't very many of them, and it is the finest known. And so a buyer is going to take a look at it and just sort out how much they like it. One of the real problems with that coin and the 188s, or at least that variety in the 188s, is the difference is so small that it's easy to get screwed up. It's easy to get a 188 and think you have an NC1. They are different dies. I don't have any doubt about that. But there's not a humongous difference. Those are the kind where you show them to your kids and they look at them and they say, Dad, I don't think so. You got to be kidding. More questions? Yeah, hi.
Dan, what do the kids collect?
What? I didn't hear you.
What do the kids collect?
What do the kids collect?
They must collect something.
Yeah, they don't. Our daughter and son are both good scuba divers. Joan's a good diver. I used to be. Our son has a daughter now, our first grandchild. So, he's collecting kids at the moment. And our daughter plays volleyball in some leagues, and we work together also. But they don't collect. I think if they did, why they might have encouraged us to keep the collections. But in a way, it's better this way because if you die with the damn collection, they're going to have a sale. There's going to be a party. You're going to pay for shrimp and roast beef and single malt scotch, and you don't even get to go to the party. Yeah, why not? Any more questions? Where's Grellman? Right here. You're on. I'm just going to stay right here because it's a project getting me moved.
Actually, we should give something to Joan for letting him come out and play with us all these years.
There's a method in my madness.
I don't know. I gotta tell you, sometimes you get speechless. This is silly to give this to you. This is really silly. But Dan, all our friends out here, me included, thank you for everything, and we thank you for everything. And thanks for speaking on Reminiscences. Reminiscences, is that a word?
Where's Joan? She'll know.
Did I spell that right? Reminiscences on assembling a large scent collection, given here this day, April 17th, 2009. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for everything.
Thank you. You want to stand up? Thank you. Thank you. The fun, of course, is being able to be with people like you all. Yeah. Okay. You can pick it out if you want.
That's fine. Hi, I'm Bob Grellman with M&G Auctions, and we have the privilege of selling Dan's collection. And the purpose of my part of this presentation is to very briefly tell you about the pipeline for those sales. That was Chuck's word. I would say the schedule, but that's okay. You've probably seen that we have his early dates available for lot viewing here at the convention. We have a special catalog that was prepared just for your use at this convention. Only 300 copies were made. It is not the catalog that will be provided for the actual sale. Same coins, same photos, but not the same size of the photos. A lot of other particulars in the catalog will be a lot different in the real catalog. So what you have is a special catalog just for you. If you haven't gotten one yet, please come by the table and pick up a catalog. And that token that Dan was talking about that simulates the 93 NC5 with changes on the reverse to make it kosher, be sure to get one of those as well. Now, if you're not familiar with this collection, it's complete with every single variety of early date except for that one NC5 from the A&S. But it's available for you to view as well. And this is the first time a complete collection of Sheldons, including all the NCs, has been assembled in one place for you to see. So it's an opportunity, even if you're not interested in bidding on any of the coins, you collect half cents or late date large cents or whatever, please take this opportunity because it's one that may not come around again in your lifetime, or ever in that regard.
I'd like to interject. It doesn't matter at all whether or not you plan to attend this sale or plan to bid. That really has nothing to do with it. If you're interested, come and look. You know, if you're interested in silver or half cents or whatever, and okay, that's fine. But if you're interested in large cents, absolutely come and take a look. The bidding and attending the sale is a whole different matter. Just go look at them and have fun.
Absolutely. And if you do have the opportunity to come attend the sale, be advised that the night before the sale, we're having a special party in Dan's honor at Larry Goldberg's house in Beverly Hills. It's a wonderful opportunity in a social environment to meet not only Dan, to get to know him in a social setting and drink some of his single malt, and just enjoy the ambiance and the experience, because the experience is a very important part of this whole process. Okay? But that sale will be held on Sunday, the 6th of September, in Beverly Hills at the Crown Plaza, and we certainly hope you can all be there, whether you intend to bid or not. Now, the second part of Dan's sale will be covering his middle dates. It is a complete collection, including the proof only. Every variety is represented, and most of the coins are in very nice condition. That sale will occur on the 30th of May, 2010. And again, it'll be cataloged by M&G Auctions and in association with the Goldbergs, who will actually administer the sale. Now, following that part of his collection, sale of that part of his collection, we'll hold a special sale of Dan's errors. Now, you probably haven't heard too much about his errors, but he had a collecting goal that I guess mirrored in a way his grand scheme, and that was to get a major mint error of every single die variety from 1793 to 1857. Now, you can imagine that's an incredible task, an unattainable task because many of the varieties are unknown with a major mint error. But he did the best he could, which was pretty impressive. And in addition, if he could get two different types of major errors for one die variety, he would do that. Or three major types of errors. You know, an off-cent or a blockage, a double strike, there you go, you got a three-banger. So you will see some fabulous errors in that sale. And in addition to Dan's large cent errors, we are very privileged to offer at the same time in the same catalog the Davy collection of half-cent errors. Now, if you're not familiar with the Davy collection, maybe you're familiar with the Breen half-cent encyclopedia. And in the back of that book is a chapter on errors. The Davy collection formed the basis for that part of the encyclopedia. And a lot of the Davy collection coins are plated in the Breen encyclopedia. So we will not only have fantastic large cent errors from Dan, we'll have the selections from the Davy collection of half-cent errors. And it will be, in my opinion, the finest, most extensive collection of error early copper ever offered at one time. That sale will occur on the 19th of September, 2010. The last part of Dan's sale will cover his late dates, which are, of course, near and dear to my heart. That collection is complete with one exception, and that's the unique 1851 Newcomb 42, which we have been unable to pry away from its owner, but not without trying. That sale will be the first sale in 2011. I'm not sure of the date yet. We haven't set the date yet. It'll be keyed to the Long Beach Convention, just like all the other sales. But it'll be on a Sunday prior to the Long Beach Convention, the first one in 2011. So that's the pipeline for the sale of Dan's collection. And again, I must reiterate that we are very privileged to have an opportunity to conduct those sales. Thank you.
One note. Yeah, don't go away. One note, the 51 N42 is very attributable. In fact, is it fair to say you can recognize it at arm's length?
I can.
Or nearly?
Yeah.
All right. If you don't know how to attribute it, go talk with Bob, because if you find one, I think I can find a buyer for you.
Well, even Bob can't get away without one of these. EAC, Bob, wishes to express sincere gratitude to you for graciously speaking on the pipeline, or really the upcoming copper sales. Thank you very much, Bob. We really appreciate it. And one more thing, if you don't mind. I have to say this because I think it's kind of appropriate. The last time we were here at the drawbridge, we had John Adams as our keynote speaker. And the people loved him, of course. He gave some wonderful tidbits of his lifetime in collecting. He's a funny guy, and you really get the little zingers in there, real cute. And I remember JK, is Krailovich still here?
Yeah.
JK?
I thought he was.
No, I thought he was. Well, the last question that he asked him, he said, John, this is Krailovich asking John Adams, if you could have the opportunity to have lunch with any one of the old timers, who would you want to have lunch with? And he said it would be Holmes. And I remember we expressed the opinion that at that time, there would be people here that would have really wanted to have lunch with John Adams. Well, Dan, I know that there's about 300 people that would love to have lunch or dinner with you and your wife right now. Thank you, Dan.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.